DreAllDay.com.
You're now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you gotta use those of personal initiative. That's the go-getter energy that moves me, you, him, and her, everyone, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one bundle, one package, one philosophy, one method, one mindset, one masterclass, one show. It is known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic: fix your posture. Fixing your posture. Now, we talked in masterclass number 1399 about nonverbal communication, one of them being your physical posture. But I'm giving a whole episode to this subject of posture, and I am not talking about how you stand and how you sit and your shoulders being back and your head up. That's not what I'm talking about when I say posture, though that can be a part of posture. That is a part of posture. What I'm talking about today specifically is your mental approach to both yourself and to your life. So I want to give you the definition of posture. Now, of course, the first definition is where we're talking about your physical stature, the way that you stand, and standing up straight and sitting up straight and your head up and your chest out. I'm going to give you the second definition. If you were to go look up posture, the second definition that you're given is this: a particular way of dealing with or considering something, an approach or attitude. Let me repeat. Posture: a particular way of dealing with or considering something, an approach or attitude. That is not the same as mindset. Mindset is the way that you think internally. Posture is the way that you choose to present yourself to the world, and thusly the way that you will be perceived. What we're talking about here today is fixing your posture, fixing the way that you deal with and consider life, and fixing the way that you approach life, and the attitude that you bring to life. That's what we're going to be talking about here today, and fixing yours. And when you change your posture, it changes everything that happens from you, everything that happens through you, and everything that's going to be happening around you. And it changes what happens to anything that happens to interact with you, anything that happens to encounter you. When I've done episodes here in the past for you freelancers and entrepreneurs, I've done episodes about pricing and the way that you present yourself to the world, and what you're willing to accept, what you're willing to not accept. And that doesn't have to be about business. That's about your posture. That's about your attitude, the way, the energy that you bring to life, the energy that you bring to the world every day. And today we're talking specifically, we're going to go deep into this about making sure that your posture is the way that you want it to be, that you're carrying yourself with the kind of attitude that through which you're producing the kind of results that you want. Because you probably heard the saying that attitude is everything, and that while we cannot often control circumstances in life, we can always control our mental approach to circumstances. We can always control our mindset around what is happening, even though we can't always control what specifically is happening. So that's today's topic again: fix your posture. Point number one: what you do obviously is very important, because in life you will be judged by your actions. It is basically the cause of the results you get. Right? The results that you have in life are based on the actions that you take. I think everyone logically and practically understands that. However, how you do things determines the results that get produced by what you do. See, it's not just the things that you do, but it's how you do them that determines the outcomes. Because we can all agree, and I've gone over this many times before, that if you change the way that you do something, you could do the same thing twice, but you could do it with a completely different energy each time. And because the energy is different each time, the outcomes are different based on those actions that you take. I think everyone who is listening to my voice right now has experienced that. You could do the same thing more than once, but have completely different energy. And as a result, you're getting completely different results. How you do things is much more important than what you do. And again, this is the be, do, have principle in action. When you change who you're being, then the energy behind your actions, the attitude, the posture behind your actions changes, and thusly the results of those actions change. I'll give you a quick story. When I started my professional speaking career. I remember the first speaking gig that I was going to do. I was speaking at Lynn University in Boca Raton, Florida. And I was telling Anna, my lady Anna, that we were talking about the speaking gig, and she was like, well, what are you going to wear? Because I was going to be speaking about utilizing social media and the internet for business. And I told her that I was going to wear some business clothing that I owned at the time. And she said, baby, you can't wear that gear on stage. You're going to be talking about business. The clothes that you have are not, they're not going to work on the stage. And I said, well, what's wrong with them? I said, my material is great. What's wrong with the clothes that I'm going to be wearing? And she explained to me that, look, if you're going to be on the stage talking about business, then you need to look like business. You need to outdress your audience. That was the phrase that she used. So whatever you wear on stage, any of you who's going to be a speaker, your clothes need to be better than the clothes of the people who are sitting in your audience. So whatever you think they're going to be wearing, you need to be a level above them, because you're going to be on stage. You're going to be literally a level above them if you're going to be standing on an elevated platform. But just the fact that you're on the stage, even if it's not elevated, you're in the front of the room. You're the person that's supposed to be teaching them, which means you need to be better than them. And even whether you're better than them or not, we don't have the time to do an objective analysis and really go deep into how good you and everyone else in the audience is comparatively. But if you're going to be standing in front of a room of people, well, how people are going to judge you? People are going to judge you, first of all, by what you say. Not first of all, actually. Second of all, by what you say. But first of all, by how you look, how you present yourself. Are your shoes clean? What kind of shoes you got on? Is your suit clean? How does your suit fit? How are you presenting yourself? What is your posture like? People judge you based off of that, and they make snap decisions. They're going to decide whether or not to even listen to what you say based on the way you present yourself. And if your physical presentation is not right, then they're not going to listen to anything you say, even though you may have the best material of anyone in the room. Now, if your physical presentation is great, then they'll listen to you even if your material is very mediocre. Now, some of you who may be maybe a very analytical thinker, not much more, but a very analytical thinker like I am, you may have a challenge with this. You may have an issue with this because you're like, well, people are going to judge me on the way that I look and my suit and my clothes and my shoes, but shouldn't they be judging me on the content of my material and how good I actually am and the way that I deliver? Yes, they should and they will, but you got to pass the first checkpoint in order to get to the second checkpoint. The first checkpoint is, how do you present yourself? And this is all about, I talked about being a hustler in life. If you didn't hear that masterclass on being a hustler, let me tell you what episode that was. That was masterclass number 1314, Hustle. Learning to play the game in life. This is part of the game of life. If you're in marketing and sales, you understand that the game is what? The game is getting your products and your services into the hands of the people who need it in exchange for money. That's the game. Now, while you may have amazing material that you're putting out there all the time, if you're not able to get people to exchange their money for your amazing material, then it doesn't really matter that your material is so amazing, because you're not able to profit from it. The game is, you got to learn how to sell your material. Not just make great material, but you got to learn how to sell it. That's the game. In school, for example, you happen to be a student athlete and you want to become a professional athlete, but right now you got to go through school to get there. Even though you may hate school, you know that you got to go to class and you have to maintain a certain grade point average in order to stay eligible to play your sport. That's the game. Even though you may hate school, you still have to go to school and you got to get acceptable grades in school in order to keep playing your sport so you can get to the level that you want to get to. That's the game. That's what a hustler understands. Those of you who are professional speakers and presenters, we talked about this going deep in the last masterclass, and then today we're talking about the way that you're presenting yourself. You may have amazing material. This is the part of the game that I needed to understand. I had amazing material even back then. All right, this was 5-6 years ago. Great material, but it was pointed out to me that my presentation, my posture, when I stood in front of a room with the clothing that I had at the time, the wardrobe that I had at the time, was not good enough. And if I would have stepped on the stage with that wardrobe, my posture would have turned everyone off from listening to anything that I would have had to say. So they would have never been benefited. They never would have had benefited from my amazing material. So what needed to happen was I needed to pass that first checkpoint and change my physical presentation. I needed to change my posture. I needed to invest in myself, get some better clothing so I looked better when I was standing on that stage. Therefore, people would be willing to listen to what I had to say. They'd be open to hearing what I had to say because I needed to outdress my audience. And at the time, I did not have the wardrobe to outdress an audience. But then I went and got on that stage and delivered, and people opened themselves up to it. And the rest became history that's still being written. But I had to understand the hustle. The hustle was I had to play the game of getting the clothes, even though I didn't think that mattered. I mean, I could have stepped on the stage in a tank top and some basketball shorts and some Jordans and given the exact same speech, but nobody would have listened to me because they would have been like, who the hell is this dude? What is he wearing? But then when I put a nice suit on and some nice shoes and a nice belt and everything looked good, now they were like, okay, let's see what this guy has to say. That's the game, ladies and gentlemen. You got to learn how to play the game. You're going to be a hustler. You must play the game, which means you're going to have to do some things that you may not think is very important. You may not think matters much. You may not think moves the needle at all, but it does move the needle. It does matter, and it is important to the people that you're trying to get across to. And if you're not willing to play the game to get to the people that you're trying to get to, then the game is going to play you, or the game is going to chew you up and spit you out. So what we're talking about here, we're still on point number one. It's today's topic, once again, is fixing your posture. It's not just what you do, but how you do it. And in front of that audience that I was going to speak to, a business audience, a bunch of business owners, I wouldn't have been taken seriously by them, even though my material was great. The clothing that I invested in gave me a different posture. Now, since then, I've been to a lot of conferences, and I'll tell you something. I have never, ever, I want you to pay really close attention to what I'm about to say to you. I've been to a lot of conferences, whether as a speaker, as an attendee, and oftentimes as both. Oftentimes I go to a conference, I'll speak there, but I also go listen to other people speak just to see what they're doing, see how they're presenting, see if I can steal anything from what they do that I can use in my own show, my own presentation. And this is something I've never, ever seen. Listen to this. I have never seen a trash speaker, male or female, who was dressed really well. I'm pausing on that because I really want that to sink in. When I say a trash speaker, I mean their material was trash. Now, I've seen some trashy speakers, some speakers who their material was complete garbage. I'm like, they're not saying anything. This is completely fucking trash. The only reason people aren't getting up and walking out because they don't want to seem rude. But this material ain't shit. I've seen many speakers who their material was garbage. Never, ever have I seen a garbage material speaker dressed really well. Never. Now, I have seen some trashy speakers with bad suits on. I've seen some really great speakers with bad suits on. I almost became one. If it hadn't been for Anna, I would have been a great speaker with a trashy suit on. Okay? I've seen some good and bad speakers with bad clothing on. I've never seen a great speaker. No, let me say that again. I've never seen a terrible speaker wearing a great suit. Ever. Never seen a good suit on a bad speaker. How is that? I just want you to think about that. Why that is. Why do you think that is? I'm not going to explain to you why that is, but you need to fill in the blank as to why that happens. Someone has invested in a great posture and great presentation of themselves and the way that they look every single time, at least in this particular area. I'm talking about professional speakers who get on stages and speak at events. Their material is always just as good as they look. Every single time. Interesting, isn't it? One day, I was playing basketball. I was probably 12 or 13 years old. This is a different story now. It's not about professional speaking. 12 or 13 years old, playing basketball, and there was an older kid. We were at his backyard court. You know, you get those portable basketball courts that you put in your backyard or in your driveway. So there was this older kid. He's probably about 14 or 15. It was his court, and they were picking up teams, and it was down to me and one of my homeboys was the last two guys to be picked, and there was only one spot left. And the older kid looked at both of us, and he looked at my homie who was standing next to me, and he said to himself, he said to everybody, but he was really talking to himself. He pointed at my homie, and he said, yo, this dude, he just looked like he could play ball. Yo, let's pick him. So he didn't pick me. He picked my friend who was standing next to me because he just looked more, athletic. Maybe he had more muscle definition. Maybe it's because of clothes that he had on. It was just his posture that sold him to this 14-year-old kid when both of us, 12, 13 years old, that maybe neither one of us could play that well, but he got sold to the older kid simply because of his posture. He just looked like, and the kid said it like 3 times. They're like, yo, he just looked like he could play ball. I want him on the team. Now, who knows if he could actually play better than me? We'll never know, at least from that day, because I didn't get a chance to play. I didn't get picked. But it was his posture that got him chosen. And it's the same thing that happens in life, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to jump the line, so to speak, of all the possible competition that may be out there competing with you for maybe not necessarily in the same industry as you or doing the same work as you, but you want to jump the line and get in front of people who may be doing things that are asking for people's attention. See, that's the thing that you got to understand, is that you as a social media manager, or you as a professional speaker, or you as an author, or you as an influencer, you're not just competing against other authors and influencers and speakers and managers. You're competing against Netflix. You're competing against Gmail inboxes. You're competing against somebody's smartphone, everything on that phone, every app. You're competing against TikTok. You're competing against an iPad. You're competing against the television. You're competing against the people who are knocking at the door. You're competing against Grubhub and Uber Eats. You're competing against anything that is asking someone for their attention. If you want to jump to the line of people's attention, the shortest, quickest, easiest way to do it is for you to invest in your posture. Invest in the way that you present yourself, because people make snap judgments based on your presentation. I mean, you do it to people every single day, and people do it to you every single day. The quickest way to jump the line is to make yourself look great, even though you may not even be great, at least not yet. But here's the great thing. If you invest in making yourself look great, subconsciously what happens is you will move yourself to make sure your substance matches your presentation. If you want to learn how to be a person of substance, all you got to do is listen to masterclass 1286, how to be a person of substance. Isn't that quite a coincidence? When you invest in looking like you're a person of substance, you will actually do the work to become a person of substance. And if you're not a person of substance, you would never invest in looking like one. It just wouldn't make sense. There's a disconnect there. Point number 2. Today's topic is fixing your posture. We already know that people judge us on surface appearances. I mean, we talked about this many times. Understand that your posture is that surface appearance. So in this way, you can control how people judge you. Often I hear from people who complain or they lament the fact that they are being prejudged by other people, or people are judging me because of this, or they judge me because I'm young, or they judge me because of my skin tone, or they judge me because of my age, or they judge me because I'm new, or they judge me because where I'm from. Or people complain, right? People do a lot of bitching and complaining about the fact that they're being judged based on some surface appearance of themselves, or something that they think they're being judged on, right? Here's the thing. You can control how people see you. All you got to do is invest more in your presentation. If you were to go and if you have an Instagram or a Facebook account, you post pictures all the time. If you go hire a professional photographer and all your photos are done by a professional photographer, people are going to look at your profile and think of you completely differently just because of the quality of those photos. Just because of that. You're the same person, same captions, same information, same poses, same angles, same everything. Only thing that changes is that you invested in the way it's presented. Nothing else changed. People are going to look at you completely different. And if you really think about it, maybe this has happened to you already in your life, but if you look at other people, go on social media and just browse. And you can tell. You can see who's getting a professional photographer doing their stuff, who's doing their stuff kind of off the cuff, who has a mix of both. And you have certain judgments of those people just based on that, without looking any at all into the quality of what they're delivering. If they actually have any substance at all, or does it even matter? Most of the time, it doesn't matter. We make snap decisions about people, and then we emotionally, and then we logically justify it by coming up with reasons. We'll find reasons to justify logically anything we've already decided emotionally. This is the way people buy as well, in case you didn't know, and that includes you. The problem that many people have is that they decide that people will judge them a certain way no matter what. Thusly, they don't try to control it. Let me say that one more time. So I just told you can control how people judge you by altering your presentation any way that you wish. The problem that many people have is that they decide on their own, you know what, I'm young, so people are going to judge me. Or you know what, I'm female, so people are going to judge me. Or you know what, I'm black, so people are going to judge me. Or I'm from this place, so people are going to judge me. People decide on their own, all right, everybody's going to judge me a certain way because of this, right? Therefore, because they decided that everybody else is going to judge them a certain way, they're like, you know what, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try to alter my presentation. I'm not even going to try to alter my posture. I'm going to just let it be as it is and let people judge me however they want, and I'm not even going to put any effort into it. And then you know what happens? People do judge them based on their own personal expectations, and then confirmation bias comes in because of their lack of effort to exert control over their own presentation. This is what happens to a lot of people in life. Instead of doing what I'm advising you to do here, which is take control of how people judge you, people just say, you know what, that's not going to work, Dre. If I buy a suit, that's not going to change the fact that I'm black, or the fact that I'm female, or the fact that I'm young, or the fact that I'm Indian, or the fact that I'm from this place or from that place, or that I don't have a lot of experience. That's not going to change anything, Dre. So I'm not going to invest in that. What's the point? Therefore, you don't invest, and you get judged the exact way you expect it to. In the long run of life, ladies and gentlemen, we always get our expectations. If you expect good, in the long run, that's exactly what you'll get. You expect bad, that's exactly what you'll get in the long run of life. Now, you may have some aberrations here and there in between, but what you expect in the long run, you always end up getting. And your confirmation bias is you say, all right, bad things are going to happen to me because I'm young, because I'm black, because I'm female. And guess what? Bad things happen. And then you say, see, I told you. But you never even tried. You never took advantage of the power that you have to alter circumstance. Now, we can't control all circumstance, but you can control some of it, the part that you decide to take control over. And this is mental toughness. There's only 1% of life that you can take control over. But a lot of people look at that and say, oh, only 1%? I might as well not do anything. They do nothing, and they get whatever life decides to hand them. But then there are other people who say, you know what? What'd you say, 1%? I got 1% of control over things in life? Great. Let me see how much I can do with that 1%. And with that 1%, they move mountains. Not literally, but you get what I'm saying. Your presentation is a signal that tells people how to judge you. We judge others partially based on our own experiences and prejudices, but all the rest of our judgment, the part that others, the people that we're judging, can control, is based on our posture. So, for example, as a black man who has tattoos, and for most of the time I'm not wearing a suit. Most of the time I'm wearing basketball shorts and basketball sneakers and t-shirts and tank tops. As a black man who dresses that way and presents myself that way and talks a certain way and uses certain language, and I have a certain physical posture, the way that my physicality and the way that my body looks and the way that I walk and talk and the way that I make eye contact and the way that I talk to people, people have certain judgments of people who fit that description. Will we agree? There's a certain profile or a certain expectation that certain types of people have of people who fit the description that I just gave you. Can we agree? Of course we can. But the rest of it, there's a little bit that they're going to have already in their mind. And some people have more than others. But I have control over the rest. Now, if I was to walk into a room wearing some basketball shorts and a tank top, there's a certain way people will look at me combined with their own prejudices. But if I walk into that same room in a sharp suit and some shiny shoes, there's a certain way that those same people are going to look at me combined with those same prejudices, and they're going to be completely different. Why? Because I took control over my posture. I took control over the part that I can control. All of these nonverbal things you are communicating. I talked about, again, masterclass number 1399. How you dress, how you respond to other people, how you handle challenges, what you do when things do not go as expected. And we make judgments about people very, very quickly. And we often do not change them. This is why we have all those cliche quotes about first impressions. They matter, and most of them are true. This is why my college internship professor, Mrs. Cynthia Wood at Penn State Altoona, she talked about the rules of 12 for job interviews. The first 12 seconds when you walk in the room, the 12 inches from the top of your head down to your collar, and the 12 inches from the bottom of your feet up through the cuffs of your pants. That's how you're being judged. Those 3 rules of 12 pretty much determine whether you're going to get the job or not. Not what you say in the interview, not how you answer the questions, not if you have any questions for them. All of that is just window dressing. People make snap judgments, and the judgments usually don't change. We make a snap judgment about a person, and then everything that happens after that, we just use it to logically justify the judgment that we already made. That's the way it works in life, ladies and gentlemen. This is the game. You got to learn how to play it. If you're a hustler, you will learn how to play the game. Now, if you want to let the game hustle you, then you'll let the game play you. It is your choice. Point number 3. Today's topic is fixing your posture. Posture is a self-fulfilling cycle of expectations, actions, and results. Let me repeat that. Your posture, your attitude with which you approach life, is a self-fulfilling cycle of expectation, action, and results. So you have a certain expectation. Because of that expectation, you have a certain attitude. In other words, a certain posture about life. Because you have that attitude and expectation, you take certain actions, or you take actions a certain way. And because you take actions a certain way and take certain actions, you get certain results. And because you got those results, which fulfill your expectations, you say, oh, well, see, exactly what I expected to happen happened. And guess what you do? The same thing all over again. Because I expected this last time, I got this. Oh, let's do it again. Then you do it again and again and again. And the same thing just keeps happening over and over again. This is how most people live life. They have a certain expectation of life, and they just keep getting that same expectation over and over and over again. The problem for many people is their expectations are way lower than their potential. But nobody told you that you had to keep it there. Nobody told you that you had to keep expecting the same thing that you've always been getting if you haven't been getting the things that you want. In masterclass number 1104, I told you the difference between untapped potential or just being a bum who's struggling to be mediocre. You want to reach your full potential, I suggest you listen to Masterclass 1104. Posture is just a self-fulfilling cycle. Masterclass 176 talked about great expectations. Masterclass 1005 told you how to lean into expectations. Your posture is a signal of your expectations. In other words, the attitude through which you approach life, you're giving a signal to the whole world, to other people, and to life itself, to infinite intelligence as to what you expect. How you expect things to go is reflected in your posture. You will act on your expectations. You agree? If I told you that it was going to rain today, it's actually raining in Miami today as I'm recording this. If I told you that it was going to rain today where you are, what would you do? You'd probably pack an umbrella. If I told you it's going to get cold tonight, it's pretty nice in the morning, but it's going to get cold at night, you might pack a jacket or a hoodie. Because of the fact that we act on our expectations, in the long run of life, we always get them. And you will always reap what you sow. Your actions will lead to results. This cycle is already started by and ends with your posture. Let me say that again. This cycle of expectation, action, and results is started by and ends with your posture. The attitude with which you approach life determines how you begin things, and is also exactly how you will end things. You will start in the same place that you will end in the same place that you started. So assume the picture. This is my call to action to you based on what we talked about here today. Assume the picture of the person you expect to become before you become that person. That's the only way to get there. Who do you expect to be a year from now, a week from now, 20 years from now? You must assume that position now before you get there. And because you have that expectation, because you have assumed that posture, as long as you maintain that posture, you have no choice but to ascend to becoming that individual. Let's recap today's masterclass, which is fix your posture. Talked in masterclass 1399 about nonverbal communication. And I'm giving a whole class to this topic because we're not just talking about how you stand and sit. We're talking about your mental approach to yourself and your life. The definition of posture and the way I'm using it today is a particular way of dealing with or considering something, an approach or attitude. This is not the same as mindset. Mindset is how you think internally. Posture is how you present yourself externally and thusly how you are perceived. Point number one, what you do is important, of course. It's the cause of the results you get. But how you do things determines the results that you get. So when I started my speaking career, I had to get a new wardrobe because it was the way I was presenting myself that would determine whether people would even listen to what I had to say. The clothing I invested in gave me a different posture. And me being a speaker, I've been to a ton of conferences. I've seen a lot of speakers. I have never seen a trashy speaker wearing really nice clothes. Never, ever. How is that possible? I don't know. You think about it. You marinate on it. You explain it. I've seen good speakers and bad speakers who had on bad clothing. I've never seen someone wearing sharp clothing who was a trashy speaker. Never, ever. It is impossible. They don't go together. One day I was playing basketball, 12, 13 years old, and the older kid said, that other guy, not me, but the other guy, he looks like he could play basketball, so let's pick him, and he discarded me. He had a posture that I apparently didn't have that day. Point number two, we already know that people judge you on surface appearances. Your posture is that surface appearance. In other words, you can control people's judgment of you based on your posture. The problem that many people have is that they decide that people are going to judge them no matter what they do, so they don't take control of their posture. All right, so they basically discard everything that I've said so far here today. and they end up getting exactly what they expected. And we call that confirmation bias. Your posture is a signal that tells people how to judge you. Now, while people do judge you based on their prior experiences and their own personal prejudices, you have control over all the rest. And you can change people's perception of people like you based on the posture with which you approach them. You can take control over this. This is the part that you have to decide you're going to control, and this is a challenge to your mental toughness. What do you do when things do not go how you expect it? How do you dress? How do you respond to people? How do you handle challenges? People judge you quickly based on these, and this is why all the cliche quotes about first impressions exist, because they're true. This is why my college internship professor told us about the rules of 12. The first 12 seconds pretty much determine how the whole thing is going to go, and we use our logic to justify our snap judgments after that first 12 seconds for the next hour. Point number 3, posture is a self-fulfilling cycle of expectation, actions, and results. And I told you in masterclasses 176 and 1005 how to deal with expectation and how to control your own expectations. Your posture is a signal of your expectations, and you will always act on your expectations. If you expect rain, you'll get a number of it. Because of this, in the long run of life, you always get what you expect, and you will reap what you sow. Your actions lead to results, and this cycle all begins with and ends with your posture. So assume the picture of the person you expect to become before you become that person, because that is the only way that you will get there. However you begin with your posture, that's the exact same way that you will end with your posture. Look at your own life and tell me I'm wrong. Work on your game. Dre all day.